Use these 4 rules right here to volunteer at church and avoid burnout, especially if you're a busy entrepreneur. Christian men who love God also get joy by being able to volunteer and serve at church. But too often, they're so busy with their life, church, and other commitments that when they do volunteer, they often are likely to get stressed and eventually burn out. But you don't have to choose between a stressed out life or being able to use joyfully your God-given gifts to serve. So, what are the signs that you are becoming burnt out? And what if you're already just too busy to even serve? Well, in this video right here, I'm gonna give you 4 rules on how to avoid burnout. They're pretty easy to follow, nothing too complicated. Just in case you don't have a lot of time to even volunteer, I'm gonna give you the 20-minute week and how you can make a difference, use your gifts, just with only 20 minutes a week. Now, before I go over any of the 4 rules or any other ideas, let's talk about how to recognize the signs of burnout. Now, gas gauges, lab reports from blood tests, even the little sign on our phone with the battery life, those all serve as warning signs. We're designed to function great with warning signs. Especially even if you live in an area that has tornadoes or fires, we're just used to, hey, let's be safe and let's preserve and let's create these warning signals. But the same is true also when it comes to our stress, our physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. And so for those who have a busy life and who desire to serve at church, we also need to be aware of these warning signs that are God-given and learn how to recognize them so we could troubleshoot them sooner than later. So here's 3 signs on how to avoid burnout. The first one is recognizing when we become irritated with God and others. And that could look like when we don't look forward to going to church as often, or we're not as enjoyable to be around, our peace runs out a lot quicker. That's a sign that burnout is coming on. Also, personal care suffers. Now, I'm not talking about like your toenails and your grooming, even though that could be part of it. More importantly would be like your sleep, your exercise. Are you exercising, sleeping? Do you have like alone time? Do you get time outside? Those type of things are typically some of the first things that we start pulling back away from, but ultimately they add to our burnout. And thirdly is when we hear distant statements from loved ones. I know just recently I heard my wife mention something about, oh, it's been a while since we've done this, since we traveled here, since we went to our favorite place. When you start hearing statements about it's been a long time since insert like a high priority favorite activity, that's a good sign of there's too much going on and you're about to hit burnout. I remember hearing this one story from Michael Hyatt, author, speaker, and he talked about he came home with like the hugest bonus that his company had ever given him, very big. And he came home and he shared with his wife. He was expecting for her to be excited. And he said he remembers the look on her face was just like, was not impressed. And she said something along the lines of, well, I'm very happy for you, but I'm here raising these 3 daughters and I feel like a single mom. And he goes on to talk about how that story has made a very big shift and actually eventually produced a couple books he's written about time management, productivity, family priorities. And so hearing those statements of distance is a very big warning sign that we are about to burn out or that we're already in that phase. So now that we know a few of the signs to look out for, let's go over the 4 rules that could help us even avoid those warning signs. And the first rule is to define your yes. All right, especially you have busy career and family priorities. You don't have too many minutes to volunteer. And so knowing where to spend your time is crucial. And if you look at this, you have these 3 circles. You have your competency, your contribution, your calling. The center would be your yes zone. And so knowing those areas that you're good at, but also are helpful to the church, helpful to your leaders, as well as calling, is it the right time to use those gifts to serve in the area? Are you the right person? And so being able to define those 3 items is huge to knowing on where to spend your volunteer minutes. Again, don't waste too much time outside of that. And the more clear you are on what that is, the easier it is to give a positive no, because you'll be able to say yes to what matters. And also when you are serving in your yes zone, it's good to remember it and remind yourself that this is the area that is meaningful, that matters, that this area is not a burden. And let yourself be refreshed by being fully present and actually enjoy serving in your yes zone. Now, the second rule on how to avoid burnout is by time blocking. Okay, so Specifically, I just mean two different ways. Is time blocking your hard stops. So that could look like, for me, my bedtime, work cutoff time, family vacation, having a couple times that you for sure are not going to continue doing work or continue to do any responsibility, is a really helpful way to boost your creativity. It's been proven time and time again that having a forced constraint is often what causes some of the most creative ideas. So having a clear time on bed, on when you stop work, and even when you're going to stop work for a week and go on vacation, will be very helpful for you to avoid burnout. And secondly, also time blocking times for reflection, whether that be a quarterly, a monthly, or a weekly time. Most people have those routines. I'm fortunate to be part of a group where when we gather, we actually discuss quarterly goals. We always have like a monthly topic, and we meet once a week just to update each other on our goals, our plans, our progress. But having those times to stop, to reflect and look back on what matters and what your priorities are, it'll be very helpful for you to avoid burnout. This next rule, it's kind of like the second one, but a little bit different. It's actually enjoying planning. I'll show you how this is actually different than just time blocking. So enjoying planning means plan for joy, to specifically plan for ways to make your life better. And this is something that I try to do often as a family with my wife, but plan our upcoming connections, whether that's date nights, whether it's dinner with with your relatives, dinner with friends, but set aside time to plan those things that do refresh you, do bring you life. And secondly, I'll be planning this week's commitments. Typically, we know that we have stuff to do. It's in our mail, it's in our email, it's in text threads, it's in a flyer that's on the counter or in the kitchen. Putting those together and planning that out for the week, knowing that you're not missing something, you know that you're not forgetting something, will be very helpful to you and will help your peace of mind. And the third thing is planning out those future ministry events. I know a lot of people who will once every couple months, every 2 months, 3 months, their families will be gone for the whole weekend. And it'll be very helpful to know which is a great weekend to be gone, that there's not a lot of stuff going at church, or there's nothing that you have already committed to. John Maxwell says that a minute of good planning could save up to 10 minutes in execution. And so the more that we plan, ultimately, the more time it gives back to you. And quickly, for this last rule, number 4, it is getting your family support. If you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. Having family support is literally like running downwind. And not having your family support, it feels like running against the wind. And so the two main ways to have family support is having a shared purpose and goals. A really good book for this is a book by Patrick Lencioni. It's called The Frantic Family. And in there, he describes a system of creating just a few core goals that the whole family could focus on. But also, it makes sacrifice a lot easier because, you know, there is a shared vision. There's something that everybody wants together as a family. Secondly, with integration over communication, that's not just telling your spouse, oh, I have this event going on, but it's actually finding integration. Maybe you have a men's Bible study, she has some choir practice or something, and maybe it's a busy weekend. You say, hey, instead of you going on a Costco trip by yourself, let's make it a date night. We'll go together, go to Costco. This is a true story, but we went to Costco. We made it a date night. We were able to help not make that chore so burdensome on an already busy week, but be able to get in some quality time together. And so integration it's actually all about, family support is actually all about having a win-win mentality. And if you have those 4 rules in place, 4 practices, you don't have to have it perfect, but you will more than likely dramatically increase any chance of burnout. Now, you also might be thinking to yourself, well, George, I don't even have that much time at all to serve. Well, let me introduce to you the 20-minute serving week. So I'm going to give you a couple ideas on 5-minute, 10-minute, and 20-minute ideas on how you could still use your gifts and still stay engaged with the church life, with serving, even if you have a very hectic schedule. So the first 20-minute week ideas are a couple 5-minute ideas. Very simple. The first one is you could pray. Dedicate 1 minute a day, Monday through Friday, praying for your leader, praying for the vision of the church. It's just, you can add it on to your normal daily prayer routine on the commute to work. You could finish that prayer before you even leave your neighborhood. And doing that 5 days a week for a minute will make a bigger impact than you actually think it could. Secondly, you can send encouraging text messages to leaders at church, even other volunteers. Proverbs 16:24 says, pleasant words are like a honeycomb, sweetness to the soul and health to the bones. Taking a couple minutes out a week to just encourage people will produce tremendous fruit. Now, here's some 10-minute ideas. You could show up early and set up, whether it's showing up early on a Sunday service, on a weeknight, something. But showing up early and just kind of helping, getting things set up actually makes a really very big impact, as well as staying longer to help tear down. Again, whether it's a Sunday or an event throughout the week, typically there needs to be some type of setup or some type of tear down. And being able to get there 10 minutes early or late is very helpful. And lastly, you could pray for 10 minutes, send more text messages. I would recommend mixing it up, doing a little bit of prayer, a little text, showing up 5 minutes if you could. But even if you had 10 minutes, there's plenty of ways that you can make a difference and use your gifts. And 20-minute ideas would be you could actually lead a group or a class, especially if it's one you're already going to be attending. Currently, I'm helping serve in a Sunday school class and already has a curriculum. And it really does just need me about 20 minutes to go over it, to prepare. And I can show up to the class, be ready to help lead, help serve it, help teach. And I'm sure there's many groups and classes that your church offers where the curriculum's already provided. And so that's a really big impact you can make with very little prep. And here's some bonus ideas. These are 0-minute activities that you could do. And the first is going to events that you're already going to be at, but going there as a volunteer, whether that's a conference or something else. There's plenty of ways where if you're already going to be there, you can find serving opportunities. Also, this doesn't take time, but doing it with friends. It'll feel like, hey, I got to hang out with my buddy and we got to serve together. So combining it with something you've been already wanting to do or meaning to do. And this last one is being able to do stuff at home. There's so many things that you could do from at home using your gifts, whether it's like artwork design, social media marketing, whether it's using some type of accounting, bookkeeping skills for your church. But there's a lot of things that you could be doing at home that don't require the travel and that don't require specific time, but that you could do on your own schedule. So in summary, avoiding burnout is not just about time management. It's not just about time hacks. Professional Christian men who are juggling family, work, and church, they also need clarity, communication, and creativity to thrive and not just get stuck in managing time. So by following these 4 rules, taking action when you recognize the signs of burnout, and even using some of the ideas from the 20-minute week, you will grow to become the best person that you can for your family, for your profession, and even for your church. So now that you feel more prepared and being able to balance all these priorities in life, then there's one thing that you want to make sure to continue to focus on, and that is continuing to grow as the spiritual leader of your home. So watch this video right here to check it out.